Welcome back to Fox 43 AM Live. Joining us now is Richard James of DeVaughn James Injury Lawyers. Good morning.
Dane, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I know it's always a pleasure to have you guys on the show because we're talking Veteran Salutes. Now, for people who maybe not have heard of it yet, Veteran Salutes, it airs every Wednesday on 27 News at 10. And I know the program, it means something special to you guys to not only kind of share these veteran stories, but to kind of talk with them yourselves when you're kind of all getting together. You guys are donating some cash to them. It's a wonderful program. So, let's talk about lately. It's been a few weeks since you've been on the show now. Who's been featured lately? What stories have been coming out so far?
Great question. Matthew Johnston with KSNT has just been nailing it, and he's had some awesome stories out, and I hope the viewers have seen the stories about Jim Borger, and I hope they've seen the story about David Tinsley. If you haven't, you can go to the KSNT website, and you can see those stories, and you can watch them, and you can just see just an amazing story and a recollection of a history that people our age might have forgotten and don't know about. Imagine being at Washburn and signing up for Vietnam, the buddy plan, as they talked about, when we as a group of guys are going to go. And then Jim Borger's story was talking about he had one of his best friends pass in Vietnam, and that's what inspired him to join, signed up for the draft, shows up and gets welcomed to his base by it being shelled. Just a life that these guys have lived, a sacrifice that is different than people from my generation have done. So thank you to KSNT, thank you to Matthew, and thank you to you, Dane, to getting these stories out there. And if you haven't seen them, go out and watch them, viewers, and the best is yet to come, Dane.
Well, 100%. Again, the stories have been so incredible. Like, volunteered for Vietnam after his friend already had died in Vietnam, which is an incredible bravery right there. And you had mentioned the buddy plan with David. I think David Tinsley was the buddy plan. His friends signed up to go. His friends at Washburn signed up to go, and he joined along. Like, it's incredible, really.
What a commitment. And these men and women deserve to be honored. If you bump into them on the streets, or you know them from church or your community, just take a second and say thank you and recognize these people and say you saw the story on KSNT. And to see these gentlemen light up, it's so special. It's so fun to have them at our office when we're able to recognize them. So thanks to you and thanks to KSNT. And there's a great story coming.
Yeah, tomorrow night's the latest edition featuring Dan Danker. Now, he was an Army specialist, and I believe he worked CID intelligence. What did you learn from him?
Yeah, I learned a lot. You know, Dan's a lifetime Topeka, and he talked about the time that he served there in Germany and the intelligence role he played with the Russians, and the messages that he would carry back and forth, and just a humble guy. And he, even at the end of his salute, paid tribute to someone that was special to him that he lost while serving. And that's just a level of sacrifice that we can't forget, and it's nice to see a guy like Dan Dinker be recognized, but for him also to remember his buddy who paid the ultimate sacrifice.
It's wonderful, the community that Veteran Salutes is kind of building as well, because I know we've talked about this before, but I think it's so wonderful. I keep wanting to mention it, how the donations that you've been offering to them, it goes just beyond them, because a lot of times they'll start offering the money to their communities that they're a part of. I think it's so wonderful.
Yeah, it's great to see them recognize the honor flight, or for them to give their money to their local Legion or the local VFW, or sponsor a fellow veteran who's struggling with a health issue. I mean, these are just generous men. To give up that chunk of your life is just shapes you, and you're generous people, and it doesn't leave you. So they're a blessing to be around and a blessing to see. And I recently had a chance to talk to Matthew, and he talked to me about how his life's better because he's interacting with these gentlemen, and they're treasures of our community, and we just have to make sure they get recognized.
I love it. Well, Richard, thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you guys on the show, and always a pleasure to talk about Veteran Salutes and the stories that we're telling out there. I can't wait to see what's coming up next, and Dan Dinger's story sounds like it's going to be great coming up tomorrow night.
That's right. Thank you, Dane.
And of course, everybody, if you want to learn more, if you want to be part of Veteran Salutes and see more of the stories, you can go to ksnt.com/veteransalutes.